Welcome to East Meets West, Rob.
Hey, that was short and easy.
Yeah, it's the show where we discuss contemporary Canadiana from our adopted homes in Ottawa and Calgary. Isn't that right?
And we do it every 3 months or so.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. I think that's a good
And
place to start, to be
yeah,
honest.
as we've discussed, I'm going to take 75% of that blame.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So
I
what have you been up to?
I've had two jobs, which is crazy in that time span. I worked at Pedalheads for a second time, had a blast, lost about 20 pounds of
Nice.
study weight. I'll call it school weight, study weight.
Either one works.
Yeah, I mean you burn north of 3,000 calories a day, and the pounds just melt off. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, kids are always fun. It was a good summer.
That's awesome.
Made new friends, and as always, they are much younger than I am.
Yeah, you might just have a thing for that.
I don't know. It's funny because you meet these people in a professional setting, and you get to know them. They're nice people. They just happen to be much younger than you.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that speaks to their maturity more than mine or whether it's some hybrid of the two.
I think I have the opposite thing. I always make friends with people who are a little bit like a year or two older.
I've also made friends with people that are much older than me. And that was well, I mean, in my second job at the Kent Hair Campaign, um, I made friends with people much older than I am. But I mean, it's just who you're around, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You tend to share a lot of hobbies and interests with much older people, I think. At least some of the time.
Oatmeal, naps, breaking hips. Yeah, it's
Potatoes.
potatoes.
I think old people tend to like potatoes more than young people. Just like in the like
I think
boiled.
that is the single most contentious statement of the podcast so far.
No, like French fries are a different matter than just like a potato that you put in the oven or cook or however you do it. You don't agree?
I don't agree. I don't.
Okay. Maybe it's just
Not
me. Maybe
entirely
I'm the weird one.
sure. Rob, anti-potato.
I have no special fondness for them, is all I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't understand, but I'll accept that.
That I like French fries are delicious, but just a potato cooked.
Nobody's doubting that.
Yeah. All right.
All right, that's cool.
I should point out, Nick,
Maybe that's an Eastern thing. Like we have a lot more potatoes out east. You guys
maybe.
have all the wheat.
Yeah.
Maybe that has something to do with it.
I love wheat. That's true. That might be it.
Yes, as do I. Got no issues with gluten.
Yeah. So between the
Um,
two of us, Nick, we lost the weight of a fairly medium-sized toddler in over the summer.
how much did you lose?
I'm at about 20 to 22 pounds since the beginning of July, since our last episode, basically.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And also due to biking, basically, because I think I've ridden the bus 3 or 4 times to work total
Oh
in
yeah.
that 2.5, whatever months it's been.
Yeah, like my honestly, I found that's the biggest difference is how often you're engaged in active transport.
Mhm.
Because I mean, the lightest I've been in my adult life was in London, I think. And that was when London's pretty sprawly,
Okay.
I find. So I'd bike or walk to and from school. And then all the fun stuff happened downtown, which was like a half hour, 40-minute walk, depending on, you know, where exactly you're coming from.
Right.
And even then, like it was always at least 10 minutes walk to a bus stop. So even if you managed to catch a bus, you're walking like 20 minutes anyway.
That makes sense.
Yeah. London, Ontario needs better transit. They also had some examples of what I am convinced is the worst idea for bike lanes ever, but
What's that?
that's another matter. Well, so what they would have on, I think it's Wonderland, which is one of their busier roads.
Great name.
Totally.
Yeah.
no one's debating the greatness of the title Wonderland for a road.
Yeah.
But so you have the sidewalk, and then you have that bit that's usually grassy or whatever, and then you have the
Yeah.
curb and the road. So they paved over what would be that grassy bit, and not well. They didn't pave over it well. They just put enough asphalt that nothing would live, and called that a bike lane.
Oh,
And so at major intersections, you are forcing the mixing of right turning traffic. I'm specifically thinking of one intersection where there was a right turn lane, the bike lane, and the sidewalk, and they all intermingle into this one single choke point
right.
because they expect you to bike through the crosswalk, which is not what you're supposed to do.
Right. No, of course not.
Yeah, unless you want them to dismount at every intersection, and then I
Yeah,
think you've defeated the purpose of having a bike lane.
pretty much.
And it's just I looked around at it and I went, it's obvious they're trying.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure how mad I can be at them
It
because
sounds
I
like
mean, they're trying, but they're going about it in the stupidest way possible.
when they were doing this, they did not ever consult anybody who had ridden a bike before.
Yeah, yeah. And there are even some intersections in Calgary where I look around and I'm like, I mean, I taught kids and I've gone over this a lot. And honest to God, like I'll talk to you. I'll give you pointers. Please just talk to me. But like your ideas are terrible.
Yeah. Our city hall, I don't know if it was here, it was like that when you were here, but in Ottawa, City Hall now has a bike lane going in front of it in the same way that you described. Instead of having the strip on the other side of the sidewalk, there's a bike lane. They've paved it well. It's fully asphalted and nice, but it's only got a couple of markings on it to show that it's actually a bike lane, and so people walk on it all the time, and people are cutting across it. It's not great, but at least it's something, and it doesn't really have the same problem that you're describing of a bunch of people all trying to do the same thing at the same time, right? Turning traffic and pedestrians and all of that.
Well, that is merciful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad we got to talk about bike lanes within 10 minutes of starting the episode.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
How could we
always. Infrastructure, it's important.
not? It is important.
Yeah. So taking 25% or downwards of the blame would be you. And what have you been up to lately for those of our listeners who don't actually listen to Future Chat? Could
Well,
we see your left hand?
we can. I mean, you're not going to be able to see it on the audio version of the podcast, but
There's something sparkling on your ring finger, Rob.
yeah, I did get married this July, at the end of July. That itself wasn't really a motivator for not doing the show, but going on the honeymoon definitely
I was
was
going to
because
say,
yeah,
you were gone a lot, and you're going to be gone again this weekend.
yeah,
Doing what? I'm not sure, but
it doesn't even matter. I'm just going to be
no,
gone.
it's just you just keep leaving, and
Yeah.
yeah,
But that being said, I have been working for the government. We'll get to in a little bit that I will soon not be doing that, at least in the same capacity that I was
Yeah.
up until next week. But I've been doing that. I'm doing some writing. Actually, up until sort of the wedding time, I was doing quite a bit of writing. And been biking a lot and doing as many podcasts as I possibly can.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's always a productive use of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So yeah, I guess I take some of the blame because I was gone for part of it, part of the break. But really, let's be honest, you were doing some big things. I was doing normal things, but you were doing big things.
that's true.
What were you actually doing?
Educating the next generation of cyclists is truly one of life's most rewarding careers.
That's obviously what I'm referring to.
And slightly below that in importance is trying to get the first liberal elected within the city of Calgary since 1968.
Right.
Yeah. As it turns out, Southern Alberta has not been a huge fan of the national energy policy. And yeah.
That doesn't surprise me, to be honest.
Yeah, that happened under Pierre Elliott Trudeau, and grit has been a four-letter word ever since.
Yeah, but now we've got the other white Trudeau, and they're gonna try again.
Yeah, yeah. But so that's the other thing I was doing is I was hired on to Kent Hare's campaign for Calgary Centre.
Mhm.
He's making the jump from being a two-term MLA to being an MP. The numbers look good right now, and hopefully, with a little more swing vote support, he'll be well into first place.
That's awesome.
It's really exciting, and I mean, within that, there were a couple just really neat experiences, like talking to former diplomats and CEOs and just these outrageously accomplished people that come into the campaign office and say, "How can I help?" And you'd look at them and say, "Well, we've got some lawn signs here. They're disassembled. Do you want to stick the metal stakes into the bottom of the sign?" They're like, "Yeah, absolutely, I can do that." It's like you get paid an absurd amount of money when you're actually at work, and we have you here just doing this.
Yeah,
But I mean, honestly, that's what it takes. It's surprising how much of that kind of thing a campaign really takes, and they absolutely understand and appreciate it. It's just really interesting. And I believe I got to go to the old house of Bible Bill Aberhart,
okay,
the father of the Social Credit Party in Alberta,
yeah.
and it was on that lawn that I planted a giant Kent Hare sign.
Now, would he love that or would he hate that?
I'm pretty sure Bible Bill is spinning in his grave,
Okay,
as I understand it anyway.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Little known fact that William Aberhart is the namesake of my university, or my not my university, my high school in Calgary that I
Is that a
attended.
little known fact that
Little
is
known.
the little known fact that you went to that high school,
Yeah.
or William Aberhart was the
No, I
namesake of
think
William
yeah,
Aberhart High School? Because
most
I thought
people
that
know
would be pretty self-evident. Yeah.
that. Yep, my first email address that was actually sort of one I used, like put on my resume, for instance, was Abe underscore QB, spelled out Cubee at hotmail.com because of William Aberhart.
That's what that was.
Yeah,
Oh, well, isn't that interesting?
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's what it was until Gmail came around.
Yeah. Fascinating.
So fascinating.
So yeah, that's from pedal heads to politics. That's where I've been.
Yeah.
And we've got God, it's been the longest writ period since I think 1872.
Yeah.
So there's still like a couple weeks to go. We got 18 days.
Yeah.
And it's just it has been one hell of a campaign.
It's been a little bit crazy. Like I'm now seeing it from the inside and basically from the moment, I guess not the moment, but like the 2 days after the writ dropped, I started getting like I got emails about the biggest projects I had. The projects that end up actually going to Parliament were just like shut down until as late as November or December when the new party finally takes over and appoints ministers and that kind of thing. Like everything
Yeah.
just stops, and it stops for like 2.5 months just for apparently no reason, like really no reason at all.
And maybe that's an example of the conservatives in action,
Yeah.
saving your taxpayer dollars by shutting down parliament for as long as humanly possible.
But also, there are millions of dollars of taxpayer money paying public servants who still go into work, even though their projects, at least some of their projects, have been just put on hold or stopped completely.
And are their desks clean, Rob?
Uh,
Because they
Mostly,
had
yeah.
better be if they're on the public dime.
Yeah. Mine's not, but I think most are.
I, that's actually when I worked at Border Services, apparently there was an incident in which the power went off because the power always goes off in Southwest Ottawa,
Okay.
and just a terrible grid down there for all the heavy industry. But I digress. Um, or not heavy industry, but details.
Hmm.
Yeah, apparently the power went off and a bunch of people went home, and a large scale chewing out was had over the state of affairs in which the office was left.
That's
Yep.
such a waste of time, though. Really,
Is it though? Is it?
a little bit.
It depends on whether or not you're a manager, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not.
Nor am I.
So this election, I've been keeping up probably the minimum amount to call myself semi-informed. I know that the parties are kind of evenish in the polls. NDP have like started to drop a little bit, but blue and red are pretty much neck and neck at this point.
Man, like it has been insane. I'm going to open up the long term poll thing here just so I can see it.
Yeah, sure.
But it's been like when they started out about to happen,
Mhm.
the Liberals were just in an ungodly commanding lead. And then they supported Bill C-51 and just tanked. Just tanked.
Yeah.
Like their support just, it was terrible. But since then, I'm looking at it, the leader in the polls has changed less often than I thought, actually. Like the Liberals went from being last place and having the NDP support peak at almost 40%, which is getting pert near majority territory in the
Mhm.
polls, to having just everything go bass backwards. Now, in the polls anyway, the NDP are last, and the Conservatives are roughly within margin of error of the Liberals.
Right.
And it's just crazy. Like, I think the biggest difference with the progressive parties has been Tom Mulcair's decision to avoid deficit spending and the Liberals' outright commitment to it.
Mhm.
And that's, I've noticed an uptick in Liberal support since about that time. And more recently, we had the French language debate, which appeared to shift significantly the polling opinions in Quebec, where the niqab during citizenship ceremonies is a huge issue, apparently.
Yeah.
And while we're on that, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
My thoughts on the election coming up in general.
No, the whole niqab thing.
I don't think like this is the whole um sort of gender equality issue all over again. Like I don't think I merit an opinion. I have certain thoughts about the kind of clothing you're allowed to wear during, for example, like the boarding or security check at an airport or getting your citizenship. Like I feel like you should have to at least show your face during points where you need to be identified visibly by your face. But other than that, I don't really feel like we have a say as people who have no we have no real sort of no authority to say nobody should do that because it's not something we wear. It's not part of our culture.
Yeah. Well, the two sides of the argument are really like your side in that, yes, you need to verify their identity during security screenings, which they do prior to the citizenship ceremony.
Right.
And I mean, other than that, it's an issue of religious freedoms.
Yeah.
If they want to do that and it is a part of their religion, then by all means, have at her. But in Quebec and I want to say like there must be other places in Canada where it's an issue, but I just can't think of them off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Um, the argument is, uh,
Is
you'll
there an
want to cut
argument?
this. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I blanked on the reasonable argument because there's the argument I feel is unreasonable, which was Harper's big go-to for a while, which was, you know, well, when you're becoming a citizen of Canada, that you should be proud, and there's no reason you should want to show or you should want to hide your face when you're supposed to be proud and you're supposed to be, becoming a citizen of this great country, that
Yeah,
kind of
that's
thing.
nonsense.
But the more reasonable argument I feel is the one saying you, what is it? We shouldn't allow the expression of religious practice that subjugates women in that way.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I understand that, but it's a little problematic for me in that I don't think that's the way to go about it. You can't like mandating that they not wear them is the same as mandating that they wear them. I think
Yeah.
that it would be a lot more beneficial to be like this is like we get that this is a tradition, but these are the problems with that tradition and maybe speak to because I think in a lot of cases it's kind of an indoctrination by males in that society that say you have to do this and so when women grow up under that influence they don't even really think about it as an option. It's just a thing you do. And there are a
Yeah.
lot of things in culture like that, like that we wouldn't even think about twice. But then you, if you really looked at it and thought about it from an objective perspective, you'd be like, maybe that doesn't make any sense. And so,
Like right now, why do we wear ties when collars come with buttons?
yeah,
Like it's archaic and we basically do it because we think it looks nice.
yeah, that's not example is not exactly the same, but yeah, I get your point.
Yeah, well, in that it's a thing that we do for no reason in particular.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so that's where that is.
Hmm.
But I mean in Belleville, I believe, ranks unusually high for number of fundamentalist Christian churches per capita, which is a fun little stat.
That doesn't
Um,
surprise me.
but we have a relatively strong Pentecostal population in Belleville,
Okay.
and integral to their beliefs is that women should not wear pants or something like that. Like the women always wear skirts or long dresses or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was to the point I actually know someone from high school who was exempt from play or from grade 9 gym
Okay.
because to really participate in gym you would have to wear pants and couldn't do that. So
Hmm.
there you are. But I mean that's another religion in which they've said, men and women have to be dressed differently. It's just the differences are more like acceptable from our society's standpoint.
Right. They're more familiar to us because both styles of dress, the one that's mandated for men and the one that's or mandated for men is kind of a
Yeah,
weird way to phrase that. And the one
puts
that's
the man in
mandated,
mandate.
yeah, and the one that's mandated for women, they're both styles of fashion that are acceptable in daily use. Like you could wear either one in our society, so it's not thought of as weird. Whereas with any sort of religious headdressing, we are not really used to seeing that, and so it seems weird to have that be one of the things that is mandated.
Yeah, and
You know,
once again, like no one gets uppity about yarmulkes, but
yeah,
if it's a turban, then whoa, my heavens, what do you have hidden up there? Jeez.
yeah. It always strikes me that the people who say things like that are people that you probably wouldn't want to associate with otherwise. And so it always kind of works as a self-selecting thing for me where you hear that there are a lot of people who are, I mean, racist. And is there is there a word other than theist for religious discrimination?
Pardon?
Because like theology is the study of religion.
Yes.
So like if you're theist, you're discriminatory against people who have different religion than you. I'm using the word theist to describe that, even though that's not actually a word. I'm asking if
Okay.
there's an alternative to that that I can use instead of saying religious discrimination.
Oh,
I'm guessing there isn't.
I have no idea.
I've never heard one. But anyways,
Christianist?
well, it's not Christianist. It's, if anything, it's the opposite of Christianist. It's Christians who are afraid or feel threatened by other religions.
Xenophobia?
That's, I mean, that's an aspect of it. I forget where I was even going with this. I
Yeah, that's
got
cool.
caught up on theist now.
It's okay.
Um, but we don't. It's kind of thought of as, I think, more okay to be afraid, and this is kind of a North American thing, but in the way that I've experienced it, but it probably happens everywhere. In that if you strongly believe in a certain religion, you have to kind of innately be afraid of other religions coming and taking any religious freedoms you have away from you. I
Maybe?
That's a feeling I get. I've never experienced that. I'm not strongly religious, but that's the kind of thing you hear about from conservatives, that I've heard about from conservatives anyways.
Well, what you hear a lot in, Tea Party conservatism is they'll absolutely beat the drum saying, we need to protect our religious freedoms, but they only ever beat that drum when they're talking about their particular religious freedoms.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not great, but I mean,
No, not especially.
yeah, there's not really much you can do, because we can't, as humans, we're somewhat good at empathy, but we're only good at empathy really, I mean, other than by practicing it a lot, we're only really good at it when we are empathizing with somebody who looks like us and talks like us and smells
So
like us.
psychologically speaking, I think you'd call that in group and out group.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. You can absolutely empathize with the in group, but that out group is just weird and strange and there's no reasoning with them.
Right. They're different than us somehow. We're not all
Yeah,
fundamentally the same.
us in the in group.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about how that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so right now the niqab issue it appears to have really sapped a lot of NDP support because they were flying high in Quebec. And I remember when Gilles Duceppe said he was coming back to lead the bloc, thinking, geez, that's the only one party that could really potentially hurt is the NDP.
Yeah.
Because they're still trying to ride the orange wave from 2011. And so, yeah, they've dropped, and the Conservatives and the Bloc have seen their numbers rise by about as much as the NDP has dropped. Liberals have been remaining steady because, well, Trudeau also supports niqabs. Trudeau and Mulcair said, that's an issue of religious expression, and there's nothing we can do about it. But I mean, Harper's singing the same tune that he has been singing, and Gilles Duceppe is, all about protecting the, what would you call it, Christian heritage of Quebec.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's fair. So if the, maybe I'm misunderstanding something, but if the Liberals and NDP are feeling the same way on this issue, what is causing the NDP to drop in the polls in Quebec?
Oh, because they support the niqab.
But
And they just had the French language debate in which that was a huge issue.
okay.
Yeah.
That really strikes me as something that should not really be an issue at all.
Well, because
In a
we
debate.
probably share the same viewpoint about such things.
Yeah.
But it was, I don't know, it was the French language debate, and I guess you could almost call it the Quebec debate, honestly.
Yeah. I mean,
because that is the
you could say
largest
that.
concentration of French people in Canada.
Yeah. I don't think if Quebec wasn't a part of Canada, I really don't feel like there would be that strong of a pull of for anywhere else in the country to use French at all, unless you already
Uh,
spoke it.
I'm consistently shocked by how much French is around. Basically, when you go up north, just anywhere, there will be
Okay.
pockets of French people somewhere.
There are pockets, sure.
Well, yeah, but it's because like a lot of the French explorers were the original ones to settle those areas,
Yeah,
and being away from the largely English larger populations, they just never really saw a reason to start speaking English.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's fair.
It's also interesting because apparently that's how accents can arise. Stagnant populations, they tend to just hold the accent that they, have had since inception. Or
Right.
that's a popular linguistic theory. And that's why when I go home, I tend to say, "I'm going out to the host. Do you need the car for anything?" So yeah,
So what you're saying is accents, as we know them, are really a lack of accent because it's the language not changing in a particular pocket, whereas the mainstream language is changing.
yeah. They
Yeah.
actually think that Old English might have sounded, or like the Southern states,
Yeah.
the Southern accent. They think that's what English sounded like when the South was settled.
Huh.
Because if you look at words like lawyer, spelled Lawyer, in the South they would pronounce that the a lawyer,
Yeah.
which sounds a lot more like how it's spelled than the current lawyer
Sure.
in common English.
Yeah. There are a lot of words like that.
Yep.
Yeah. That's interesting though.
Isn't it though? Isn't it just?
Now I have a whole new thing to think about when I start thinking about weird words like jewelry, Wednesday, February.
Trying to think of other good ones, but I got nothing.
Nuclear.
Knife.
I don't think that's a good example.
No, because there's just a K there for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Yay, English. If you don't already know it, good luck to you.
Is there anything else going on in politics?
I mean, other than the fact that it's just a huge toss up
That's kind of
this far
terrifying,
from the.
actually.
Yeah. I, well, I mean, it's really interesting because this is the first election in living memory, at least, in which you've had these three parties this close in the polls, this close to the election.
Yeah.
Like it's just crazy.
Hmm.
And I'm kind of apprehensive because I did a foolish thing before the election and made predictions on my blog. I'm not even sure what I predicted right now. So I've got to go back and reread that to see how well I did.
When did you do this? Was it the
Uh, it
candidates
was,
thing you did?
yeah, it was my last blog post.
Okay, so was it? It was a part of the candidate series, but was it in any of the ones about a specific candidate, or was it after?
I made predictions at the end of each one, saying what I
Okay.
thought would happen. And they're incredibly flaky, if I'm remembering them correctly.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Makes sense.
I'm really like that's just adding a bit of extra curiosity for me. It's like if I put money on the election,
Yeah.
except
So,
it's not monetary. It's just, people look back and go, man, he's an idiot.
do you want to know what you said?
Uh, the one that I remember most clearly is Tom Mulcair.
Okay.
And I said he should win, but he won't.
Okay.
And back when they were riding at about 40% approval, I was going, "Woo, my face is going to be red."
Oh yeah. So, do you want to know? Because I can tell you, I've got it open right here.
Please do.
Okay. So for Justin Trudeau, you predicted that Trudeau will win a minority.
Okay.
Uh, in that part, you also predicted that if he didn't win a minority, that Harper would be held to a minority. In the Harper one, you you literally say this isn't really much of a prediction.
Oh, good. Well, I'm
Um,
glad I'm honest about it.
yeah, if I guess it's the same thing. If he wins, it'll probably be a minority. If he loses, he will almost certainly limit the winner to minority status, which that isn't really a prediction. That's just the reality of politics in Canada for the last 10 years,
10 years?
maybe longer.
He had a pretty commanding majority last time.
No, I know, but I mean in general, as the trend goes, he
Sure.
managed to pull that out. But and then yeah, you were right about Mulcair. He probably should win this election, but won't. Yeah,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
it will. I saw, and I'm not going to be able to find it at all, but I saw a graphic talking about it. Someone had tracked all 308 ridings across Canada and showed
Is
that
this at
if,
308.com or
well, no, I
oh,
don't.
you might be thinking of Vote Together.
It's very possible. The one that showed that if Liberal and NDP voters voted for the candidate that was leading in their riding, that
Yeah.
wasn't the Conservative Party, then the Conservative government would only get 40 seats. Like if they bound
Yeah.
together, each would get this huge number of seats. And if they didn't, if they voted the way they're voting now, the Conservatives would have a slim minority or majority, yeah, minority government, but a slim
Yeah.
majority of the overall votes. So I don't see Canadians uniting in that kind of way. Just the way our political system works doesn't really allow it. It would be a huge gamble for any of the 30 million, 35 million, whatever it is, people to do. I don't see it happening, but if it did, I mean, it'd be good.
I think what we might see, the only thing that I think might happen is, coming into the real home stretch after Thanksgiving weekend, I think you're going to see a lot of people uniting behind one change party
Yeah,
because the numbers do indicate that, two-thirds of voting Canadians are not pleased with or they're not pleased with the general state of affairs. And so I'm wondering if you'll see union behind one of those change parties. It
yeah,
could also happen at a riding by riding level, and I'm not convinced that's going to happen, but I mean, in Calgary Center anyway, Kent's numbers have been getting better as time goes on,
okay.
and the NDP's numbers are steadily shrinking by about the same amount.
Hmm.
Just because, man, people really don't like Crockett here. One of those
Crockett,
things.
he's the Conservative.
She's the
He,
conservative incumbent, yeah.
okay. I don't know why I went to he, but I think it's Davy Crockett related.
Perhaps, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's also interesting because this is the first time that the conservatives have really led in the polls, like just recently,
Yeah.
because the best they were doing is being kind of sort of competitive with the NDP for the longest time.
Yeah.
And now, at the end of this outrageously long writ period, they've finally come out just eking a little bit ahead. And it's like, was that their plan? Did they see this coming? Or,
That would be crazy if they
yeah,
did.
it's, man, it's so exciting.
So the unfortunate thing here is that voting is a private thing. It's something that a lot of people like to keep close to the vest. And last election, so many people voted for the Conservatives. There are people out there who like what they're doing. And so it kind of scares me that those people still, for the most part, exist. And it seems
Yeah,
like
they do.
the only thing that's going to save Canada, if I can hyperbolize, is
Is the addition of 30 extra ridings, which will keep them from taking a minority.
well, that's not what I was going to say. That might work, but no, I think what needs to happen is for the people who didn't vote and traditionally don't vote in elections to be fed up enough with the conservative government that they say this is enough, we need something different. And I
Yeah.
really, what the election is going to come down to is whether those people vote or not.
And apparently voter apathy was a big factor in the last election. Like people
Yeah,
just did not show up.
yeah,
And traditionally conservative voters who are seniors who typically have nothing else to do on voting day,
yeah,
at the very least they make themselves available,
yeah,
came out in droves.
yeah. Well, I think there's a certain amount of apathy that comes with two consecutive minority governments. That people go, well, why are we doing this again? We just did this and it didn't do anything. So
Yeah.
maybe that led to some of that apathy. But I think all the pretty crazy and baffling changes that conservatives have been making slowly over time, but have kind of come to a head, will hopefully motivate younger people to at least consider their options. And odds are they probably won't consider Harper to be an option. I know a lot of people that feel that way.
Well, in the younger circles, yeah,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
fully agree with you.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be so interesting.
it'll be fun. I don't know that we'll have another episode before the election, but we should certainly. You were talking about having one live all day during the election. I don't know how you feel
During
about that
an
now.
election, sorry,
Yeah,
I had a bad internet connectivity moment,
that's okay.
but I still think it would be a great idea. But I also think it would be illegal.
It,
Just
it would be a great illegal idea.
yeah, because we would be broadcasting to all time zones. We would have to wait for the polls to close in British Columbia before we could start podcasting. Is the long and
Yeah,
short of it.
and I'm not doing that.
And I am almost certainly going to be at Kent Hare's party, so there's
Right,
that. Yeah.
makes sense. It Do they have a party if the person doesn't win, or is it like everyone plans a tentative party and then only one of them actually happens?
No, I think they all have parties. It's just
The mood,
if they don't win, people tend to just shuffle out quietly.
right?
And I mean,
Okay,
if you Jim Prentice's election night in the Alberta election was like that.
okay.
I guess he was at the Met, and the place was just rocking until the numbers or the ballots started coming in, and then everyone went home to shred all their documents. Literally, that did happen.
Yeah,
There's big kerfuffle about it.
interesting.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I had to say on this.
I
I
think
don't
I've
think so.
gotten a surprising amount out about the election and how I feel about it.
Yeah. What are your feelings on the parties and the policies? Do you know that much about the parties and the policies?
I know a very small amount. Like I know generically what's going on, but in terms of, especially in terms of things going on in my actual riding, I have no idea. But on a grand level, I kind of know. I took the vote compass, and that is fairly informative. But really, what it comes down to for me is it's a choice of the non-conservative options. The vote compass. I think we might have talked about this briefly in future chat. We talked about the vote compass. I'm like dead center between Green, NDP, and Liberal, and it's really just a matter of like I'm literally
Did you see they have another axis this time?
yeah, I'm dead center on in 3 dimensions. It's
That's
crazy.
fantastic.
Yeah, but on the opposing side of conservatives, I'm in no
Yeah.
way aligned with any of their policies, but in terms of the other ones, it's kind of whatever I want.
Hmm. Yeah. So while I was with the campaign,
Mhm.
I was noticing that I was eating just terribly
Okay.
because I just did not have time. I was eating a lot of fast food. And I looked at what I just can't keep eating like this because this is just ridiculously unhealthy. And so I looked into Soylent as an option
Yeah.
and I subscribed.
You
And
subscribed as in bought one, or did you actually get a subscription?
I got the subscription.
Wow.
which interestingly has since been upgraded.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I went to just get, like, saying I'll get a week supply and see how that goes, and I'm using an awful lot of it to the point where I was going to run out well before my next shipment came in.
Mhm.
I've typically been having like a liter of it prepared in the mornings.
Right.
Half of my, well, I was going to say half of the 2,000 calorie package, but
Okay.
I have since learned that I need to eat significantly more than that if I want to continue with an active lifestyle and not want to be starving all the time.
Sure.
But so I was going to bump up to a 2 week thing, and then Kaya tried Soylent, and I did not expect Kaya to be into it at all because
Hmm.
almost every review I've ever seen has been a guy trying Soylent and their female significant other saying how much they hate it and think it's a terrible idea. But Kaya has started having it for breakfasts to the point where I actually got up before her this morning and prepared the normal breakfast that she'd have, like yogurt, berries, granola,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And she came out and went, "Oh, I've been having
Interesting.
Soylent for breakfast."
Oh,
She's like, "Yeah, I mean, this is fine. I'm gonna have to pack a snack to have mid morning because now I'll be hungry."
yeah.
Just because, yeah, Soylent put an emphasis on keeping people sated for a long time, and apparently it's really
It
working well for
it
Kaya.
works. Yeah.
So today I bumped the subscription up to 3 weeks per month, and we'll see how that goes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's I did not at all expect Kaya to be into it, but here we are.
Hmm. I'm interested to try the liquid version, the non-powdered one. I
Yeah.
had I experienced on Twitter remotely um, someone going through the process you described, where the guy tries it and then the girl they're with also tries it, and basically, apparently, according to Des, who is one of my Twitter friends, it has the consistency, like she described it as almost gluey, which made me originally, when I didn't know that it was the liquid version, I was like, I think you're maybe not adding enough water, but apparently that's how it's supposed to be. So I don't know. I'm
Okay.
I'm intrigued to try it, but I don't really have any interest in having the liquid version because using water on site where you are is so much easier than carrying water around.
Well, yeah. Although with that in mind, I have been adding bananas and blueberries when I make it here.
Yeah,
Wild blueberries, frozen wild blueberries, because normal conventional blueberries, I've been ruined.
yeah.
I can't go back. They're awful by comparison.
How do you figure that? I think most people would think the opposite.
So conventional blueberries are large and they are bland because
Oh, okay. I get what you're
as
saying.
as all other conventional agriculture has been going,
Yeah.
the emphasis is placed on yield and nothing else.
Mhm.
But wild blueberries, oh, they are something special. And this is going back to my days being raised in the East. You go up to the Canadian Shield, and I think blueberries need an acidic soil,
Okay.
which you don't find down south in the limestone areas, but on the Shield anyway, they grow well. And like in the oddest places, you can go to rock faces and things like that, and they grow very well.
Hmm.
But you start picking those, and you realize that just your life's changed. It's like Honeycrisp apples. Your life will be divided into pre-wild blueberry days and post-wild blueberry days.
Fair enough.
It's like opening Pandora's box on knowledge, and you just you'll forever be disappointed by conventional blueberries after that.
Right.
Yeah.
But you said frozen wild blueberries.
Yes.
That's still okay.
Oh yeah. Like
Hmm.
the flavor isn't really that negatively impacted. And if you're blending it, it's fine.
Yeah, it
Like
doesn't matter.
whenever I've had frozen strawberries, I've found, if you blend it, it's fine.
Yeah,
But there's a consistency thing that happens when freezing, and it's just they're not the same before
right.
and after freezing.
Yeah.
But yeah, for something like I use them a lot in oatmeal too. If you're going for an oatmeal or some sort of blended application, it's absolutely fantastic.
That's good.
And I've had the Saskatoon berries are good, but
Yeah.
they're not quite wild blueberries.
Okay. That's fair. I would never want to take that away from you.
You're in the perfect place to go blueberry picking too. Like not Ottawa itself, but
Yeah.
in the surrounding areas, you should absolutely go and try and find some wild blueberries this summer, this coming summer.
I probably won't, but I'll at least keep it in mind for as long as I can.
Please do.
Yeah. But so my experience with Soylent, and maybe you can tell me yours afterwards, is I've been using it for lunch. I tend to go through about a bag a week. So 5 days of approximately equal amounts per day. And that's literally all I eat at work for the 8 hours I'm there.
Hmm.
And in doing that along with biking to and from work, that's what has given me the ability to lose weight fairly easily. I I wasn't doing it. I wasn't losing any weight even though I was biking until I started having just Soylent for lunch. And I find that odd, but it makes sense.
Yeah. That said, I'm not entirely sure how you managed to survive for 8 hours on like a scoop and a half of Soylent,
Neither am
but
I. I have no idea.
your breakfasts and dinners must be robust.
My
Is
breakfast,
is my
okay,
approximation.
this week has been the worst in terms of food quantity that I've eaten. Yesterday, so Wednesday and Tuesday, I literally didn't eat lunch. I didn't have any Soylent. So I had my breakfast is about 75 Cheerios with milk. Like
75 Cheerios, not like, cup and a half,
no,
but
it's like the bottom layer of the bowl and then I add some milk. Like it's the least substantial breakfast of all time and then I have not needed anything throughout the day and then I'm hungry when I get home, but I'm not
I
starving,
bet
like I'm not dying. It's weird. I
it
don't
is weird.
I don't get it.
Me neither.
Yeah,
What do you hmm.
I know. I it's
Yeah, no wonder you're losing weight. Like I looked at the rate of loss and went, "Whew, that is
yeah,
intense." But yeah, fasting will do that.
but it kind of is fasting, but there's something freeing about having food that's 3 minutes away from being prepared and ready to consume within arm's reach that makes me feel like I don't need it right now. And I don't know what that is exactly. Like if I could have, if there's food within 5 seconds of eating and it's within arm's reach, I will eat that constantly. I'll just keep eating it. But if it's 3 minutes away and it's within arm's reach, I'm just like, I could eat, but I don't really need to right now. There's something weird about that balance.
I can see that. Yeah. And actually, a big reason why I was eating so terribly was that the food I was eating was convenient
Yeah.
because McDoubles are just outrageously
They're
convenient.
so good and they're so calorie dense.
They really are. It's
They're
just
all
you can eat them in sub 10 minutes
yeah.
and
10 minutes, you're taking way too long. Sub 1 minute.
sub 1 minute might be pushing it. But yeah, like, and Soylent is so convenient. That
Yeah.
is a huge benefit of it. What I'm not crazy about from a EMW perspective is the value of the Canadian dollar right now
Yeah.
because The exchange rate is just killing me right now, but man, the minute they open a factory in Canada, because clearly that's going to happen. It's not going to happen.
They don't need it though. They have a distribution center in Mississauga.
Yeah, but if the purchase could be made in Canadian dollars, I mean,
Yeah,
if the price was in Canadian dollars, I
yeah.
would be so much happier.
Uh, all that I think that would do is stabilize the price. Like the you can buy an iPhone in Canadian dollars, but it's still 300 Canadian dollars more than it would be in the States.
Touche.
I
Yeah,
think,
okay. I see
yeah,
it.
that would more pacify us to at least know what we're paying. Whereas now, when you buy Soylent, you just put in your credit card and it says how much American it is, and you just you literally just accept blindly whatever exchange rate they're using.
Yeah. And it's terrible.
Yeah,
But, you know, God, I love it though. It's so easy.
yeah,
I've always been a big fan of getting a robust breakfast into you just because I find it helps you throughout the day.
yeah,
But to get the amount of protein in one serving of Soylent is it's like 3 eggs and something else.
yeah. It is.
And it's not the fastest thing to prepare.
It
Like,
can be. I've gotten really good at it.
that much protein in a meal in
Oh,
the
in a
morning, you
meal. I
mean?
thought you meant Soylent.
Oh no, like Soylent is just it's done. It's beautiful.
If you want to eat that much protein that quickly, you basically end up doing when I do eat, I'm going to call it dinner, but it's not. It's just food that happens around dinner time. I basically just grab a handful of whatever sliced meat we have in the fridge and I eat it. That's my protein. I grab like 3 or 4 slices of turkey and I just put it in my mouth. It's literally no wonder why I'm losing weight because that's dinner for me a lot of the time.
Yeah, wow. Huh. Here I am trying to eat right and exercise and build lean muscle and things like that. And Rob's just like, "Yeah, I just don't eat."
I just eat protein and Soylent. I do. I when I go to restaurants now, and this is something that I've never done in my life, is I get either a soup or a salad on the side because restaurant portions are so damn big all the time. I can't handle it.
I've actually started, getting half of it to go depending on how hungry I am, what I've been
Yeah.
doing.
I'll usually eat if like I and in this weight loss time, I tend to lose like 5 or 6 pounds or even a little bit more during the week, and then on weekends I kind of forget. I don't forget, but I worry about it a lot less. So I think I balance out to about 2.5 pounds lost per week total. But it's because I love burgers so much. Like I can't not eat a hamburger if it's in front of me. But then so my
They're amazing.
I've gone to restaurants in the last 2 months where I get this gigantic burger and then I'm like, okay, well I'll just have soup or salad on the side. It's fine. It
Yeah.
works so well.
But I
Like
mean,
half my calories are from protein these days.
unless it's potato soup, you're foregoing the potatoes,
Yeah, that's true. I had potato
which
soup one time.
good on you.
Yeah. Again, it's not that I don't like potatoes. It's just that I don't prepare them.
Actually, in our travels in Western Canada, because we went to Grand Prairie and Grand Cache. Those
Yeah.
were the highlights of that trip. And then the day after, we went to the Ukrainian Heritage Village kind of thing, just east of Edmonton. I think it's just east. It's near Elk Island National Park.
Okay.
Details. Tried borscht for the first time. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm not sure what I expected, but this isn't it.
Hmm.
That said, I really enjoyed it. I just did not expect that to be what borscht tastes like.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Given that it was Ukrainian, I expected it to be much blander, but
Right. They have some stuff that has flavor.
yeah, black pepper and onions. It's a winning combination.
Right. Do we have any more to say on food or do you want to talk about hockey? Because I don't have much to say about hockey, but I figured you probably would. That's why I wrote down the word or the words hockey
Yeah.
season starting again.
Well, this is basically like our main points on East meets West.
Yeah.
We want to catch up. So what's happening in hockey? I actually really wanted to try and pay more attention to football this year, and it just didn't happen.
It's CFL
Is
we're
the
talking
C-
about?
Yeah, I've never had much interest in the NFL just because I don't know. It's just never really appealed to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
The CFL has that local element,
Yeah.
which I find is missing for me in the NFL. What do you do?
Not much. You watch hockey.
Basically. And I have no special feelings towards the Argos. So I was thinking, maybe I'll get in on the Stampeders. Maybe I'll hop on that bandwagon. But I just didn't watch anything, and that's how that went.
Right.
Even right now, during the Blue Jays' main winning streak, I like the Blue Jays, and I really like going to the live games at the then Sky Dome. But I just haven't been watching.
Right. And they're doing insanely well this year.
Yeah, I've even got a standing offer from someone who actually knows baseball to go to her place, and she'll explain, these are these people and these are known for this and yada, yada, yada. And I just haven't.
Right.
But Mike Babcock, who Don Cherry once in his, he's known to mispronounce people's names, but roll with it anyway.
Yeah.
He once gaffed and it came out Mike Dad Babclock. And that it's on Vine somewhere. It's beautiful.
It doesn't even make sense.
I think he got like the first syllable out, realized it was wrong, switched it to so that's how he went from Mike Dad Bab, and then just needed the kind of cocky sounding last syllable, and just familiarity went with clock. Mike Dad Bab Clock. But yeah, the Leafs got rid of Phil Kessel, and my Phil Kessel shirt is still sitting in the closet, and I just feelings.
What are you going to do?
I'm gonna wear it, and I'm gonna be sad when we don't have, someone to just hang out at the blue line and streak into the opposing net. That said, I'm not surprised they traded him because that was his thing. Like, he did not back check ever at all for any reason. But their successes were almost always based on him streaking out or like on a breakaway and scoring. I think it was the lockout shortened season where they actually made the playoffs. If you went back and looked at every goal from JVR, Kadri, Kessel, and Bozak, like, it was all just they all managed to nab the puck in their zone, streak into the opposing zone, and then snipe something.
Right.
And that's why they were winning games so hilariously and yet had terrible possession numbers.
Right.
And that's why eventually everything came crashing down around them.
Of course.
Or so the analytics crowd would have you believe.
Yeah.
And I am absolutely a member of the analytics crowd. I dig it. I like it.
Sure.
But yeah, so they got rid of Kessel. They got just a bunch of new faces coming in. Got Lou Lamoriello as their GM. And the haircuts are already a little closer, a little tighter, less scruff around the team. Literally, like, there was some rule about no playoff beards on Lou Lamoriello's New Jersey Devils, and it appears he might be having a similar influence right now. And it's a shame because Leo Komarov grows an amazing handlebar mustache.
That's too bad.
It is too bad. But I suspect this season is going to be just horrendously depressing. But at the same time, once again, they have the aspect of hope going forward.
Sure.
So, I mean, last year was about as bad as it got for me as a Leafs fan. I stopped watching the games because they were terrible and there was no hope.
When they Air Canada Center now, is that what it's called?
Yes, since 1993, I think.
Good, because I get confused. But um, when that arena stops selling out, that's how you know there's something horribly wrong with the Leafs.
Yeah. They ended like a decades long sellout streak,
Yeah,
or 18 years maybe.
that's
But
crazy.
God,
I'm talking about all the Leaf fans that were so faithful for so long. That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
It
no,
makes complete
absolutely.
sense.
But
Yeah.
now they're finally doing things right. They've finally realized that, hey, we can spend whatever we want on people in the front office. We should just get the best coach and the best GM. Just buy the best ones. We have
Yeah,
the money. And oh my God, they finally did it.
that makes sense.
They hired they hired the guy who ran like all the cap compliance stuff for the NHL. They
Mhm.
hired him to be their cap guy.
Now, I'm starting to think, what if they started hiring as sort of bigger stars retire? What if they just hired all of them as coaches? Like, what if there's a salary cap, so obviously they have more money than they're allowed to spend on players. But what if they just got each player their own coach who is or was a professional player?
Because professional players don't necessarily make the best coaches.
The ones that do, let's say,
Sure, let's just hire all the coaches. I don't
just
know how they would do that
I don't know
exactly.
either, but I
And
think it would be.
maintain some level of dignity for each of those coaches. It's like,
I
yeah, we
just think it
hired
would be
you, but
great.
there are 47 others that, you know,
They each focus on development of one player. So you get each player up to the highest possible caliber they could, but without raising the salary cap.
that would
I'm,
be interesting.
I'm trying to think of how you would do it because they have so much money that they can't spend on player salaries. But it doesn't mean you can't spend that money towards things that might improve your team. You could try anything.
It's true, they could.
It's probably not a good idea.
I don't know. Well, they like put the Marlies in Toronto, and that's like lost them money in the long term.
Mhm.
But they've basically spent it to say, like, if you want to come and be in the Leaf system, you can do it all from Toronto.
Right.
So if someone signs a two-way contract for Ottawa, they have to be aware that they could be in Ottawa or they could be in Binghamton, New York, or something like that.
Sure.
But in Toronto, it's just, yeah, you can buy a condo downtown and that'll serve you well. Unless you get sent down to the Solar Bears, who they're trying to have a strong relationship with.
And where are the
That's in
solar
Miami.
bears from?
Orlando Solar Bears.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They're trying
Interesting
to,
choice.
their vision going forward is to use the Solar Bears as a development stage. So all your new guys come into Orlando, then the best of Orlando goes to the Marlies, and then the best of the Marlies come to the Leafs
Okay.
in in sort of a just outrageous developmental standpoint
Yeah.
or system.
Yeah.
But the problem is they don't actually own the Orlando Solar Bears.
So how does the setup work?
Beats me.
Okay.
They
That's
just
fine.
have a very close relationship with them, and you hope that Orlando does what they tell them to.
Sure.
I imagine they just, I don't know, buy them nice things and say, you do what we tell you to do. We give you nice presents. We give you some money. You stop doing what we tell you to do. We stop giving you money. It's that simple.
All of a sudden you're a mobster now.
If you had the Leafs money, I'm sure it would come easy.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah. Just make them an offer they can't refuse.
Yeah. So you don't have very high hopes for the Leafs, but you still have some hope.
I think Steve Dangle said it best when he said, like, people ask how the Leafs are going to do this year. He's like, great. Like, they might finish as high as 20th. And I kind of agree with that,
Yeah.
unless we have just an outrageous breakout year under Mike Dad Babclock.
Right. That's unfortunate.
Could be worse. Could be last year.
That's true. Last year was abjectly horrible. I the one memory that sticks out for me from the NHL last season was, I believe it was Leafs January, or I think they won one game. It
That sounds about right.
was like the worst NHL January ever.
That sounds about right. Like, in 100 years of
Yeah.
history,
Yeah.
like in more than 100 years, because there was a Toronto team in the National Hockey Association that predated the NHL.
Yeah.
Basically, the NHL was created because nobody liked the owners of the Toronto team, and so that's why the Habs are older than the Leafs organization.
That's
But
amazing.
yeah, then they were the Arenas and the St. Pats, and then finally the Maple Leafs. Incidentally, I now own a St. Pat's hat, which is going to serve me so well on St. Patrick's Day.
No kidding.
Absolutely. It
I
was
assume
on clearance.
it's got the clover on the front and it's green. Is that?
No,
Oh, well, then
it's the
that's
St.
ridiculous.
Patrick's logo. It's the Toronto
Still a
St.
blue hat.
Sorry, I'm Googling it.
I'll Google it too.
We're almost there. Yeah,
I'm
then
picturing
you're
blue.
fine.
I don't know why.
Sorry?
Bring a blue hat now. Now that you've said it's not green and doesn't have a clover on it.
No, it's green. It just doesn't have a clover.
Oh, well, that
And it's a
even
really
simpler.
interesting way to be a covert Leafs fan because only like stupidly knowledgeable people will know what exactly it's referencing.
Right.
And that's probably why they still had it sitting there in the Edmonton sports store.
Right.
I like that I just referred to it as a sports store. They sell sports and sports related sports.
Yes. So I see
Yep.
a lot of green Toronto Maple Leafs jerseys in this image search.
Or just go to the Wikipedia article. It has their logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
A few years ago, they actually they wore the St. Patrick's jerseys for St. Patrick's Day. That was
yeah.
pretty cool. I like that a lot.
Okay. It's very interesting. It's not really a logo. It's just words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, how are you feeling about hockey? How closely do you follow the Flames right now? I know they're your team,
They're not my
or at
team.
least they were.
I,
No?
I don't know that they ever were. They were close. They were the closest I ever had to a team.
I'm gonna say this. Back when I told you about the Phaneuf trade, you actually doubled over and put your head in your hands.
Yeah.
And I said, is it that bad? And you said, you don't understand. You have the Phaneuf factor now.
I'm.
I'm not sure that level of anguish could be achieved without you having some sort of emotional attachment to them.
I definitely have emotional attachment growing up, but it's guys like Jerome McGinley and Joe Nieuwendyk, and
Okay.
at the very tail end, I can't even remember his name now. The goalie who chain smoked. I cannot remember his name.
Kipper?
Yeah, Kiprusoff.
What about Johnny Hockey?
I don't
What
even
about
see.
Matt Stajan, former Toronto Maple Leaf and former Belleville Bull?
I don't
Only one
remember.
of those organizations still exists, by the way.
I don't remember a time that Matt Stajan was on the Flames.
He's on them right now.
That's what I'm saying. I don't. I have no idea.
Elite fourth liner, we'll call him.
So my hockey this season is going to be a little bit more than usual. Like I have, I guess not by blood now, but legally I'm bound to at least pretend to really
Oh, don't
care how
say
much
it.
the Habs
Don't
do.
say it.
I'm legally bound to pretend to care and be somewhat invested in it. That's what I'm going to
Was
be
that in
watching.
your vows? Did you sign a marriage contract that involved that?
No, but I've been threatened by various new family members that I should not cheer for anyone but the Habs if the Habs are playing.
Rob, I will take you in. I don't care what Kaya says.
I I I don't want to cheer for the Leafs. I think
I'm not
that's
saying you got to cheer for
brutal.
the Leafs. I don't want to see you be forced into Habs fandom.
I'm not forced to. I enjoy watching them.
This that the radio listener can't see. This is my incredulous face.
So Julia is participating in a fantasy league, I guess you'd call it. I
Yeah.
don't really know how. There's a number of different leagues. They all work different ways. This one's I think through Yahoo Fantasy something.
Does she want my computer algorithm?
I don't know. They've done the draft, so it might be
Oh,
useless.
don't know.
Yeah. Uh, but so I'm going to be paying attention to hockey because she's going to be watching probably more than she would otherwise, at least a little bit. I have no interest whatsoever in participating in a fantasy league. And so the most that I'm going to be doing is kind of experiencing it through her and trying to help her if I know a little bit more about a particular player than she does. But for the most part, I'm useless when it comes to that. I don't know. Hockey, it's fun to watch, but I can't get too invested. Like if the Habs, like they did last year, have a playoff run, I'm gonna start getting excited and build up. Just like if Canada has a run at the World Juniors or in the Olympics, I get excited, I get caught up in it. But then when it's over, I'm sad for a day, and then I just move on with my life.
That does sound nice.
It is nice. It's very nice. The one thing I will say, the downside to cheering for the Habs, if I actually had an interest in cheering for a different team, I could claim allegiance to that team and not have to worry about this Habs thing because once the playoffs start, if the Habs are winning, we have to do the same thing that we did when the Habs won last time, which includes me not being there or definitely being there while a game is going on. And so it's just insufferable to live with someone who feels that superstitious about things. Because I'm just like, can I just watch the game with you? And it's like, no, you didn't watch it last time and they won, and now you can never watch with me again. Did you know, Nick, it's been scientifically proven that superstitions are real, and it definitely hasn't been completely disproven.
Oh yeah, totally aware.
Yeah. So that's one downside of being that into one team and that invested into their success.
Hmm.
But other than that, I don't. I'll watch it happily, like very happily. I enjoy watching it, but I don't follow it because I can't.
So, follow-up question.
Mm,
The Flames are playing the Oilers. How
Flames.
do you feel about that?
I want the Flames to win.
Okay.
The I also really like young hockey players from Canada also really get me excited. So if I see,
Okay. Another good one.
yeah,
The Canucks are playing the Oilers. How does that make you feel? Are you conflicted because you hate them both so much being a
I
Calgary
don't
fan?
hate either of them. I don't
Oh,
hate the
that is weird.
Oilers. I would pick the Flames, but I don't hate the Oilers.
Okay.
They have beautiful young stars about to take the ice again.
So
And
that's Sherry Esker there. Hey, God, it's a good-looking kids on there. Good-looking Canadian kids.
yeah, like for instance, if I was watching Vancouver and Edmonton play, I would probably cheer for Edmonton because they're closer to what I grew up with. But don't I wouldn't have enough of an interest in that game to pick a favorite. I would just watch it and enjoy it.
Okay. Flames are playing the Habs. Who do you pick?
I don't know. I would probably like again, I wouldn't pick anyone. I'd be happy if the Flames won, and I'd be not unhappy if the Habs won because I know that it would make someone who's important to me
Because
happy.
happy wife, happy life. Because of
Exactly.
that. Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair.
And I think that's all we need to say about hockey for now, because
Yeah,
the season hasn't even started yet. There's lots of time.
there's been preseason.
I know,
Oh,
I
it's
know.
been good.
It's been all right.
Get that fix. Just
Nick,
like tap your forearm to get the veins out, just so it can go directly into your veins.
yeah, I'm definitely not at that point.
Okay, that's probably the healthy
Yeah,
route.
yeah. Nick, I think we should wrap this up by talking. I don't know how much you want to say about unemployment, but
I hate it.
I have a week left of work on my current contract, and it's kind of a blank page right now. Do you want to talk at all about what it's been like since leaving university and not really knowing what's next?
It's just I had such grand ideas growing up about what leaving university would be like.
Mhm.
Getting a stable job, settling down, starting a family. And for me anyway, granted, I don't think I'm the best job seeker,
Mhm.
but it's just been one stopgap after another at this point.
Yeah.
And like like for the longest time I was thinking, oh, I don't want to do something like go to Fort Mac. Like I like civilization too much.
Yeah.
But like Kai and I visited Grand Prairie just more because we'd never gone to northern Alberta or northern Alberta
Mhm.
with quotations around the word northern. And so we decided we'd either go to Fort Mac or Grand Prairie had a scenic route along Jasper
Mhm.
that we could take back. So we went with Grand Prairie. Grand Prairie has a very stable economy, and I love Calgary. I absolutely adore Calgary. But I'm sending a lot of applications up to Edmonton and Grand Prairie way just because honestly, it just need something that I can do for a while
Yeah.
and actually like get into and good at
Yeah.
and start having reasonable salary expectations.
I get that. It's really frustrating. I have been working at NSERC. I mean, technically, in January, it will have been 3 years since I first got a job there. But I've been working in the same job for almost the last year, started last November, and my contract has a week left in it. And at least as of right now, it's not getting renewed. I've been told it's not getting renewed, so it would take a miracle to kind of have that change. But it's not necessarily something I'm passionate about doing anyways, the work that I'm doing. It's something that I'm good at and I can do, but I'm not upset about losing that particular job. The only reason that I want to work full time, like have a 9 to 5 kind of job, is to like be an adult and start a family. There's
Yeah.
no strong draw to a job any job that I've had so far, really, that's something that I want to do, at least full time jobs that I've had, it's something I'd want to do for the rest of my life. And it's such a frustrating experience because we're now in the point that job applications have become so, if you want to apply sort of the normal way, which is online these days, that's how most companies want you to apply.
It's ridiculous.
It is a
It's
job
like
in itself.
submit us your resume. Okay, write every pertinent detail of your resume out in these little text
Yeah.
boxes now so we can more easily search it. It's
Yeah.
like, do you even like why am I giving you the resume
Yeah.
other than it's just one more hoop I can jump through for you people?
Right. I feel like at a certain point it will be like, send us a link to your LinkedIn profile where you've already filled out all this information in neat little boxes.
And some of them are a little more like that.
Yeah.
It's You can just import your LinkedIn file and
Yeah.
that's your application. And then they will have a shorter questionnaire, which I do understand, which is saying like, I need to know about these specific points in your
Yeah.
work history or your experience. And like that I get.
Yeah.
That I understand. But God, they're frustrating.
Yeah.
Like
Ye-
what I'd really like to do is get into non-destructive testing or corrosion inspection, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Because those are jobs that do actually use some sort of scientific analysis.
Yeah.
They do involve basic scientific principles. And you do have to think about it at least a little bit when you're looking at things. Really and truly, I would like to be doing a job that not an especially well-trained monkey couldn't do, because
Right.
that's been a lot of my lab jobs up to this point. It's like, if you really put your mind to it, you could just take anyone in off the street and train them how to do this.
Sure.
Like, it's not that hard. But like at least inspection and corrosion protection, stuff like that, that's something where you're actually helping.
Hmm.
Like what you end up doing is with proper inspection and protections and things like that, you help the company maintain the value of their assets. And as Nace so eloquently puts it, you are protecting people, property, and the environment from either corrosion or unexpected failure.
Right.
And it's one of those nice places where you're making money because you're a valuable asset and that you're protecting the company's assets and the health and well-being of everyone around there. And so at the very least, no matter how boring your job might get after a while, no matter how bad it gets, you can fall back on the fact that you're making the world just a slightly better place for having done your work.
Yeah.
And I could apply the same rationale to the public service too, but
Yeah. Of course.
they're
Yeah.
not hiring especially much at the moment.
Th- They're hiring some things, but they're not necessarily all things you'd want,
Yeah,
or things that someone with our particular set of skills would be interested in.
I have a very particular set of skills. Skills that make me a nightmare for small defects like you.
There's a parody film in there somewhere.
Yes, yes, there is.
Um, so unemployment for me is it's this weird thing where I know for a 100% certain that if I wanted a job tomorrow, I could get one. But I know that it would pay really poorly and I would hate it and I would like my time is better spent looking for a job that pays well than it is working in a job that pays nothing. And so I'm getting like you feel pressure from family, from friends, from significant others like why don't you have a job? Adults have jobs. Aren't you an adult? And I'm just like yes, I am. Have you ever tried to apply for a job today? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Like there right now I know engineers who are in incredibly high demand all the time, always. Engineers are having trouble finding work here.
Yeah.
Like that's how bad it's gotten. And honestly, that is why decided to support the liberals this time around.
Okay.
Because, like, I mean, especially after I left the campaign, I thought about it as like, I could just do whatever the hell I want now in terms of the parties I support. But I genuinely feel from being on the ground and trying to find employment that we are stagnating as an economy.
Mhm.
And I really feel like the Liberals' deficit spending plan on infrastructure is arguably our best way to jumpstart the economy going forward.
Sure.
And it's not even going to fix things overnight, but God, I hope it gets better.
It would be hard to see it getting worse unless possibly a certain political party stays in power. Not naming any names.
They don't even have, I don't know, like, Politicians get blamed more than they actually deserve for the state of the economy, but there are things you can do to try and help.
Right.
And I genuinely don't believe that austerity is one of those things.
Hmm. I mean, if you look at the American economy between 2000 and 2010 or so, you will see that a political party can, and possibly even one single person, politician, can have a massive impact on an economy.
Yeah. Well, they have said, like, what is it? It's either job or GDP growth. It's been around 2% in the States following the recession.
Yeah.
And in Germany, they embraced austerity and it's been growing at like half that rate.
Yeah.
So there's at least some effect. It's just,
Sure.
you know, oh,
Yeah.
the winds have started blowing and now the blinds are rattling. Have fun in post production, Rob.
Yay. Yeah, I mean, we can wrap this up. Did you have any more you want to say on unemployment? We've been going for an hour and a half.
I hope it is short lived.
Me too. I hope actually that it is not lived. Like
Yeah.
for me, it would be really nice. I don't know if I don't see it happening necessarily. The last time I was unemployed, it was for about 5 weeks, and it was the middle of the summer, so I was like, I'll keep looking, but if I don't get a job while it's summer, I'm like, I'm not gonna die. I have money saved, but obviously you want to minimize that as an adult. It'd be cool to have a part-time job that paid really well. I've been saying that for a while, rather than getting, like, I'd love to get a decent starting salary, and then instead of getting regular pay raises, get regular hourly reductions. So like make the same amount of money but work 35 hours a week, and then work 30 hours a week, like go down and get more free time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that'd be nice. It'd also be nice if we had a guaranteed minimum income that we could fall back on.
Yes. I The fact, it makes me feel better for myself that I advocate for basic income, even when I have a government job, which by all accounts is relatively cushy. It just makes so much sense. Like, even if you have money, you still benefit from this, and that if something happens, like, everyone always talks about getting a permanent job, getting a job that where you're not on probation, you're not on a contract, you're just there. But that doesn't make a job permanent. That just makes it a little more secure. That job could
Yeah.
still disappear at any moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So until then, I guess that's where we're at.
Yeah. I thought you were just going to want to end it right there. Until then, and we just cut.
You could. You could in post just say, until then, and cut.
I'm not going to do that. The rest of this conversation is going to be so worthwhile.
Oh, yeah. Really, really solving the world's problems in this 2 minutes following.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's all I've got to, that's all I have to say about that.
Nick, it was very good to talk to you again. It feels like it's been forever since we've done this, because
It has. It's also been forever since I posted a blog
It is.
topic.
Yeah.
So I got to get on that too.
Writing is incredibly satisfying, and I think I'm going to do a lot more of it during unemployment.
I hope you do.
Yeah.
But I hope you don't have a lot of time to do it.
Likewise, Nick.
Thanks, Rob.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you then.